All right, welcome to another episode of Mundelein Minute. We are recapping the village board meeting from yesterday, March 14th at 7 p.m.
Are we going to talk about the committee of the whole meeting?
Oh, yeah, we had a committee of the whole meeting, too.
I never know what your plan is. This is obviously not scripted.
Generally, we don't have a plan.
Okay, there was also committee of the whole meeting at 6:30
Yep.
on Monday, whatever that was yesterday.
Yeah. So,
14th.
I'm Eric Schwenk. I'm a trustee in the village of Mundelein.
Me too. But
You're
I'm not Eric Schwenk.
No, who are you?
I'm Kara Lambert. I'm also a trustee.
Yeah. And this is my house, cameras. There's kids. One's putting together a Lego set in the room behind the camera.
Crazy Lego set.
A crazy Lego set he saved up for months and months to get.
That's so cool.
There's cats. There's a bird. There's a lot of noise in this house. So, bear with us.
Yeah, bear with us.
And the disclaimer of no taxpayer dollars were used to distribute this podcast. So, on with it. So, Committee of the Whole, we heard from, I didn't print out that agenda.
The Economic Development Commission. We heard from the commissions.
The commissions, yeah.
Should we just use that term?
Yeah, it was an
Committee
of the Whole on committees and commissions.
Well, that doesn't sound bureaucratic at all.
Well, and this was born out
was...
of the Arts Commission bringing the statue to the village board, and we really didn't understand that was coming our way.
No.
So we expressed...
And I made a big fuss about not having a plan and not knowing what was going on, and
so we expressed
then I received answers.
We needed to know a little bit more about what our committees and commissions were doing.
Yeah.
And this got brought our way. So let's see, we heard from the Arts Commission, which does literally everything. Arts. And they kind of...
And this year they're hoping to add dance, which is the only art they hadn't touched on yet.
Yes.
That was cool.
Yeah.
So lots of cool activities.
The Historical Commission about the museum, which opens back up for the season this Saturday.
Is it this Saturday?
Yeah.
With some new exhibits.
Yeah.
Cool. Economic Development Commission.
Yeah.
Is that it? Arts.
There was one more.
Economic Development.
Oh my gosh, we looked.
Who did we forget? Right, no, that was it. Arts, Historical, Economic Development.
I think there was one more.
That's it, man.
Oh. All right, I'll look it up. You look it up on the agenda, and
yeah. You talk.
We'll switch over and talk about the the village board meeting, because there really wasn't much to talk about with the committee of the whole,
other than what they're working on and the updates from all of them.
Correct.
And what the purposes of all of them are, just to remind people.
Well, and we do have some newer trustees that have only been there for a year now, and this is actually the first time we've had this whole report since we've been on the board.
Yeah, usually the Historical Commission is the one that gives us a full report, a big report.
Correct.
But this time we got it all. Yeah. MCC.
Oh, Mundelein Community Connection.
Yes.
And because they're not necessarily a commission.
Yes.
And they are a standalone nonprofit that the village helps financially.
Yeah.
And
what is MCC, Trustee Schwenk?
The Mundelein Community Connection.
There you go. What do they do?
Promote Mundelein.
There you go.
Throughout the area, really. They now own Park on Park.
Right.
They run the farmers market, the craft beer.
The arts festival.
Yeah, they do a lot throughout the village. And we spend...
Santa's Cottage.
Yeah, Santa's Cottage.
Yeah.
So we spend, over the last few years, between $20,000 and $30,000 a year as a grant to MCC.
Right.
And this year they've asked for $30,000. And Trustee Russell pointed out that we get more
than $30,000
worth out of that in the business that they bring to Mundelein.
Yep.
So it's definitely well worth it as a grant to a nonprofit that does so much for the community.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Now
on to the village board meeting, which we started late because our meeting ran over, but that's just how it goes. Okay. We did the normal Pledge of Allegiance, attendance, all that. Approval of minutes from the prior meetings. Public commentary. There was only one person that spoke. I didn't catch his name.
I didn't either.
He said it rather quickly, and I just couldn't catch it. But he and his family own a liquor store down by Butterfield and Route 60. And they would like to add gaming. So currently our ordinances don't allow for gaming at liquor stores. You have to have a VG1 license, actually have a bar kind of place to have gaming. And so
Seats.
Seats. And he's just asking for that to be considered. So
So.
we didn't take any action. We listened, and I'm sure he'll be working with staff to further that conversation. Up next was the Beautification Committee presentation for the Mayor's Monarch Pledge. Go.
Gail Becky, man. She is a rock star.
She is.
She put together that presentation. So the Monarch Pledge is basically, we're trying to become a monarch-friendly city. And this is one of the steps you can do it by the mayor proclaiming a Monarch Day, which is going to be in June at the farmers market. We're still working on it, but I think we're going to have a lot of cool stuff. We're going to have stuff for the kids to do. We're hopefully going to have a native plant sale / exchange at it. There's a native plant nursery that's way, 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 way west of here, and they typically don't come to this area other than like for like the forest preserves plant sale, and so they hopefully will come to that. We're also going to work on presentations with the Fremont Library to kind of get that information out in the community, and some other. We'll also be expanding our website. We do have a, what's it called, like under it, like a sub page. There we go.
A sub, yeah.
Jesus, a sub page, but there's nothing into it yet. But we will be creating the sub page with information on how to make your garden a monarch friendly garden. So Gail gave her presentation about kind of like all those things and why monarchs are important. This is one of their summer breeding grounds, and so we want to try to attract more pollinators and more native plants to the area, basically, is the goal. So this has been a project of mine, like a little pet project, since I sat down with John Lebedo probably right after I got elected about making Mundelein prettier and more sustainable, and this committee does both. So this is an effort into the sustainability by planting kind of like native species, things like that. So yeah,
I'm excited because my house is a complete wreck from this drainage project.
Yeah, you can plant whatever you want.
Installing a sewer line, and we're doing a whole bunch of landscaping when the weather.
So yeah, nicer. So like milkweed,
I'm
everyone
totally
knows is like the big thing with butterflies, because that's the only plant that they can breed on. Of course, there are tons of other pollinator plants, marigold, Mexican sunflower, coneflower, tons of other plants that are nectar plants, which they will feed off of, but milkweed's the only one that they breed on. So yeah, there's also a proposal that we are going to do some habitat restoration behind the fire station, which would be done with a master gardener to show us kind of like what we could get rid of and like pull out in order to allow the native species to thrive.
Okay.
So this is just one half of the American Bloom Committee. There's two subcommittees, this one, and then there's another one that's like more geared towards beautification. And we'll probably be hearing from them soon because they've proposed some really cool ideas as well. So this was the first step towards a monarch-driven summer.
I'm all in.
All right, so let's go.
All right, next up we had a presentation from the Lake County Convention and Visitors Bureau. So they gave us a report. One of our trustees, Trustee Russell, sits on their board. And so they come and give us a presentation.
Of what they do.
Yeah. Every year or two.
They didn't do it last year. Shocking.
Yeah, shocking, right? But we did hear from them once before since we've been on the board.
Yeah.
And this year they kind of gave us an update on some of the numbers and how much information they put out about Mundelein and the interactions that they get with those social media posts and blog posts, and it's quite impressive.
Yeah.
And then they also presented 2 awards.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, so
the state of Illinois.
The state of Illinois hosts this. What is it, like a makers?
Awards.
Yeah. They recognize different makers throughout the communities in the state, and they started off with 200.
Yeah.
And now they're adding some more. So
28 this year.
28 this year that got added.
And 2 of them
are from Mundelein. So they actually got a plate, like an award
that is
plate
made in Illinois.
That's made by one of the makers.
Yeah.
And those went to Patterson Glass and Tony Cannoli.
Yep.
So it's awesome to see 2 Mundelein businesses being recognized at the state level. And now they will be further publicized and hopefully grow their businesses too.
Exactly. I told, obviously my son loves Tony Cannoli.
Who doesn't?
So Theo will be there this week to check out Tony's new plate because he was quite impressed by it. So.
Oh, yeah.
It's cool. So.
Yeah. Tony, I need some keto cannolis, please. Thanks.
Couldn't you just eat the cheese?
I guess I could.
But there's sugar in it.
Yeah.
Also, don't listen to his nonsense. Everyone just likes real cannoli.
It's true. All right. So up next was public hearings. There weren't any. On to the mayor's report, and the mayor issued a proclamation for the mayor's Monarch Pledge.
There you go.
So that's the first step
Yep.
to getting the Monarch
There's
Summer.
like 3 different things that you have to do in order to get recognized, and this is one of them. So
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm hoping that this night at the farmer's market turns into our little like butterfly fest, and we'll have some cool stuff to do. I'm hoping that we will have stuff for kids to do. Like I envision us maybe having caterpillars that we can grow into our own butterflies.
Caterpillar costume?
No comment.
No comment?
Things got to be kept secret.
Okay. Okay. Next up was a meeting call for the finance committee meeting. So this is not going to be a village board meeting. It's on a completely separate night, April 4th. So we'll meet and discuss the budget and have a presentation from our village administrator, Eric Gunther, and take it from there.
Yeah, that's you, man.
That's me. Yeah, we actually had a small meeting, myself and the mayor and the village administrator and finance director before our committee of the whole meeting to kind of go over what some of the budget stuff looks like. So it's still being wrapped up, but it's looking very positive.
That's good.
Yeah. Let's see. Next, parades and public assembly. We just changed the ordinance for this to streamline some of the processes. So not everything has to come before the village board now.
Correct. Yeah.
So our standing parades that we do every year just can continue on with approval from the village administrator.
That's smart.
Yeah. And then we amended the village board policy and development review process. So this was for what comes to the village board and how the entire development
also just like
process.
Formalizing this more was a necessity too.
Yeah.
So how things are
how we
it's
appoint
reviewed.
negotiating team members and how things are brought forward and through the process for developments. Under trustee reports, community and economic development had quite a lot.
He always does, man.
He always does. The first was a barber shop, and I did not catch the gentleman's name, but he is totally excited about opening his barber shop.
Oh, I can envision it too. I feel like it started with a J. Whatever.
I can't remember for
remember.
sure. But there's going to be a new barber shop in the shopping center next to Rogan's Shoes.
Did anyone catch how young that kid was? He had to be like in his young 20s.
Yeah. And he said that
opening his own business,
his
like,
grandfather's
mad props.
dream to have him open a business and a barber shop, and here he is doing it.
Yeah.
So he's going in between Rogan's Shoes and the roller rink, and we had to issue a variance because that land is technically zoned for residential
for redevelopment purposes. But right now there's no one interested in it. So
right. So for now, it
Yeah.
makes sense that we continue the use of commercial and.
Did you catch him talking about how he like wants to partner with the schools to do like back to school haircuts?
I know, and
Stop.
for first responders,
Ugh.
yeah.
I don't know if any of our first responders have hair though.
I know that was a priceless moment when he said, "Oh yeah, we'll give free haircuts to the police officers and the fire department." And our chief of police is sitting there,
Who's bald?
absolutely bald, and the look on his face was just priceless.
The fire chief's got some hair, so maybe.
He does, yeah.
But I thought it was you could just like see the passion in him, and it was really good to see like a young entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chasing those dreams, man.
Yep, absolutely. Next, we had a couple of motions for carriage crossing. So this is
Heyo!
right by your house.
Yeah, but this means like it's moving again, right?
Yeah. So this is the senior living center on Midlothian over by the Regent Center.
Yep.
And they cleared the trees, and everybody was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then they stopped.
Also, minor details, the pandemic.
Yes, and
that industry was crushed.
Yeah, most people know that industry got hurt horribly bad.
Yeah.
And so they actually came back to us to continue this project, but also modify it. So, the building is now a little smaller. It's a story less. They're trying to save some money, but also continue their growth.
Yeah.
So
Super
we
pumped.
had to modify some of our
documents. Did you hear them that they're going to break ground in May, possibly?
That's what they're trying
That's
for.
2 months from now.
Yeah. So they told us that they're kind of stuck between permitting and financing, and they need.
This is steps towards it.
Yep, they need to get this done so that they can pull permits to get the financing in order to continue the construction. So they're moving right along. Let's see, impact fee amendment. So this was for capital development fees, stormwater management fees,
All
transportation
of our
fees.
impact fees for the most part.
Yeah, so we just had an amendment to some exemptions
Yep.
for those fees. A sign variance, and this was for Mundelein Crossing. So we haven't had a sign variance request in a long time. When I saw this on the agenda, I
Did you
kind
get a
of
little
had a little
nervous?
panic attack. And so this was because the sign that's currently installed is bigger than what's allowed by code.
Right.
And they want to modify and replace those signs, and they just want to be able to keep the same size.
Which I feel like for a giant shopping center that's on a
Yeah, so Mundelein Crossings
four-lane
is over where Target
freeway, yeah.
and Home Depot and all that is. So they're
Yeah.
The
It's not like a small
right
residential area, like small
the
streets.
management, the head of the management
Yeah.
company. I'm not sure if he owns the property. I kind of got that.
Yeah,
but
I did get that impression too, but I'm not sure. But he
Anyways,
said he'd been in this area for 27 years. That's quite a long time.
the guy that manages that was there to talk about how much the property has had
interest-wise
since
we've come out of the pandemic.
Since coming out of the pandemic, and also he recognized the growth behind the shopping center and in front of it has definitely brought a lot more interest, and their available square footage has dropped almost in half now.
Yeah,
so
with more interest pending.
Correct. Yeah, so it's pretty
drawing in
impressive.
businesses, which is good.
Yeah. And then every year we're required to have the zoning map approved. So we approve the zoning map and any of the changes. Here comes one of our kitties.
Oh man, come here.
Oh, you're going to join the podcast? She's our vocal kitty for sure. Let's see. Public Works. There was nothing from Public Works under finance. We did the general payment of bills. It was $524,761.30. So a modest amount compared to some of our other expenditures, but still on the lower end. Stay tuned as we change fiscal years. That will change.
And that number gets bigger. And
yeah, come May, it always goes right back up.
Yeah.
All right. Public Safety Committee. What the flock?
Jesus. Wow. It's quite the intro. There was just
I'm
one.
pretty sure we should title this episode "What the Flock."
Oh,
Clickbait much?
Oh God. Our views will be up. Okay, so there was one motion on the agenda, and it was regarding AL.
PR.
No, automatic license. Is it P or D?
P.
PR. Yeah. ALP.
Automated license plate readers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. What those are stationary cameras that are used to basically like scan license plates as you drive by, and they're used for investigation purposes only. So if there is I'll just randomly, a car stolen out of pick your suburb, and we know that they say it was in Vernon Hills, and we know that they headed west, like they would likely come to, is that right? West? Mm-hmm. Yep, just making sure. God knows I don't know directions.
That's true. You do.
They would come towards Mundelein, and we should be able to like scan the cars that go through to see where they continue to. So Vernon Hills has this, McHenry has this, Libertyville is in the process of getting this, Wakanda is in the process of getting this. There are like LA County uses this. There's tons of police jurisdictions around the country that use it. It was Eric and I talked about it before the meeting, and I talked about it with the police chief, and so did Eric. Trusty Schwenk, sorry, my bad.
It's okay.
Whatever you go by these days.
Eric is fine.
And both of us had like nervous opinions on it at first. Mine at first, because this feels like a little bit Big Brother-ish. Mm-hmm. You know, I told you that like I was torn between feeling like Big Brother and then also being like a worried mom that wants crime prevention. Like, how do you balance those? And that's what I was like torn on this. I talked to the police chief and then also our village administrator, who's obviously the former police chief, and got kind of some insight on it. So prior to this, the police were doing this essentially from their squad cars. They were able to do this, right? Mm-hmm. He also, you know, kind of told me, and I was worried about like what else this data could be used for, was a concern of mine, and yours. And the only jurisdictions it's shared with are other municipalities in investigation work, which made me feel better. So ultimately, I voted yes, and you voted no.
I voted no, so the motion did pass 4-2. Myself and Sol Cabachuela voted no. And my issues are privacy. You know, when I started to research this, one of the items that I came up with was cell phones, and that your cell phone, just by its presence on the network creates data. And just like your car on the street creates data, and that data, in my opinion, should require a warrant or a subpoena to capture if it's more than what the eye can see. If I can see you, then that's no there's no expectation of privacy. But if we're relying on technology to scan more than what the eye can see, then in my opinion it should require a warrant, and I fear it violates the Fourth Amendment.
So, the other concern you had was like FOIA.
FOIA, the
So I
Freedom
talked to
of
our FOIA
Information.
officer a little bit about it.
And I talked to, our police chief is the FOIA officer for the police department.
Yeah.
And he got back to me on that, was that it would only be FOIA-able if it was part of an investigation, if an officer requested that information. So I could not just FOIA your license
Right, exactly.
plate
That
every
was our
time.
concern at first, because like,
Correct.
yeah,
And I know that he's the authority on this.
Yeah.
And he says only if the police officer goes and requests your license plate out of the database could it then be FOIA'd.
fair.
So,
Okay, yeah, got
or
it.
if it was part of an investigation. What concerns me is that's the conservative view of how FOIA is interpreted.
Well, it
and
makes you feel better.
FOIA
Peter had the same kind of response too, which is our other FOIA officer.
But again, that's the conservative view of it.
Right.
The liberal view, and the state has always maintained that the FOIA laws should be interpreted in the most liberal way possible. And in my opinion, the village is paying for that information to be stored. That is a record that the village maintains, and anytime it's requested, it should be provided. And now, if that's how a court was to interpret it, anytime you pass in front of those cameras, your information now becomes public record anytime somebody wants to search it. And that has not been figured out by the courts, nor has ALPR cameras, stationary or otherwise, been figured out by the courts. And it has a very high fail rate. And I'm scared as to how this is going to be interpreted in the future. And I'm scared as to the liability that it creates for the municipality. So that's why I voted no. And
the reverse of that is, we're just going to debate with each other the rest of this.
that's okay. I mean, this is how our conversations go prior to meetings. Mondays generally have a lot of back and forth.
With everyone, like
Yeah.
not just with you and I, but like with staff trying to figure it out. But none of these decisions are made lightly, right? Like this is nothing we take with a grain of salt. So LA County has had these for quite a long time, and it's held up in court. Also, other municipalities are doing it as well. Vernon Hills has had this for over 18 months. The other thing that made me feel, this is not the right word, but better about it was that we are being more conservative with how long we're storing information. So the state allows you to store information for 90 days. We've chosen to do 30 days. Other municipalities are doing the 90 days. So
Sure.
We've chosen to like purge our data faster, which makes me feel a little bit more at ease. But
The only way that I would be okay with this, and what would have gotten my vote, is if the camera was snapping the photo, checking the hot list, and then dumping the photo if it didn't hit the hot list.
I wonder if that technology even exists.
I'm sure it does.
I don't know. Anyways.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's how I would feel comfortable with it. Unfortunately, that's not what was brought before us. So I voted no.
But what's the story? We're here and we're still talking to each other.
We're here. We're still talking, and as we've talked about in the past, this is now the will of the board moving forward.
We'll just move on.
And we'll probably be seeing some policies.
Oh yeah.
Coming out of this, and we'll see what comes up in the future. All right. So moving on, the building committee. We had no reports for building committee. Transportation and infrastructure had no reports. Nothing under other reports. Under omnibus vote items, there was a LED lighting conversion. So the Archer Business Center, the ABC building there, we're switching out some lights and converting that. I actually sent an email to Adam Boucher about this on Monday, because I know the library recently had a lighting project, and they had some issues with it and had to bring in a new vendor. and the new vendor, it was not discussed who would get the rebates from ComEd. So I brought it up and made sure that that was taken into account here to ensure that this has the lowest impact on the taxpayer. So the vendor gets the tax rebates so that the village has the lowest upfront cost.
Huh, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't
But that
think
was taken into consideration.
Yeah.
So
you're so much smarter than I am.
I don't know about all that, but kudos to staff for recognizing that there was ComEd rebates.
Yeah. That's it.
That was pretty much it. We had no other reports from staff, from the attorney, from the clerk.
I forgot during public safety.
Oh, yeah. Public safety. There's a blood drive go.
No, there's Coffee with a Cop.
Coffee with a Cop
on Friday.
Friday, yeah.
At McDonald's on 45, starting at 7.
Yeah.
8, starting at 8.
7.
7.
7 to 9, I think.
7 to 9, I think that's right. God, we're so not prepared. Blood drive, April 2nd.
April 2nd.
At Station 1.
Yep. 9 to 3.
The signs are already up, so
yes.
Get your blood ready. Is it ready?
I probably should have some more water.
Okay.
Less coffee.
But that's it.
I always think about that, and I'm pretty sure that caffeine does not go into the bloodstream like that. But if somebody was to get my blood,
just bring them back to life like that.
They'd be like, I'm ready to go.
They'd be ready to roll. Be fine.
So we had no executive session. We were out of there
early, but it was long because we had a committee of the whole.
Yeah.
And you had a meeting before that.
And we didn't get started till later. So
yeah.
But we were done by 8 or 8:15.
I don't know. My husband was asleep on the couch when I got home. Story of his life.
It sounds awesome.
All right, that's it.
That's it. And we will see you for the next
2 weeks.
Yep, the next meeting is the 28th of March.
Yeah.
So we'll be back for that.
Be back. Have a good week.
All right, we'll see you later. Bye.
See you. Bye.